FIU drops another game, third
Yeah.
straight loss, 24-17. Definitely a tough game for FIU just overall from start to finish. Started the first quarter, they UTEP dropped 21. Just at that point, it was just trying to play catch me up. They kind of did a little bit.
Yeah.
John had the touchdown, then you had the Q1 Jenkins 1 yard rush, and kind of like last week's game ended in a Q1 Jenkins injury. It
Yeah.
is a knee injury, according to Coach McIntyre. Obviously, just nothing on that yet. You'll find more information.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you said it yourself. Cade McConnell looked like prime Dan Marino when that game started, man. And it's just the unfortunate thing for this team. I think without a doubt, the second half, the team, I think overall looked much better than the first half. But they put themselves in such a hole, especially with a run-based offense. I mean, granted, Owens and Lawrence had great games, but if you're down big, you need to conserve clock. And if you have a run-based offense, you're just not going to be able to do that. So, unfortunately, their passing game was once again limited by Jenkins, who didn't have much time in the pocket, got sacked a bunch, and of course took that 5 times, and then took that hit in the end, which once again took him out of the game early with Hayden Carlson stepping in. But of course, by that time it was way too late anyway. So
they had one more chance, Coach mentioned, and then just I don't know.
Yeah.
Coach really took the blame this time around. He this was, and I'll tell you this, and maybe you'll agree. This is one of those pressers where it was like, man, he kind of feels the pressure.
Yeah, man. I don't want to discreetly say what might have been the worst loss of his career so far. Of course, we can think of that 73-0.
It wasn't. It definitely wasn't this one,
right? But it wasn't. But definitely, situation-wise, this may have been one of the worst losses because this was a must-win game.
You can make the case
for their bowl chances.
If you thought the Aggies game was frustrating, this one's probably up there too.
Because on paper, pretty much every statistic for both offense and defense, FIU felt like they had the advantage going up against a third or fourth string quarterback and just a UTEP team that looked abysmal for most of their time this season. And FIU, of course, on the up and up, trying to make that bowl game appearance. And now they have set themselves back a lot because the opponents they have to play, of course, Jacksonville State, Arkansas, and then Western Kentucky, man, they're going to have a tough road if they want to get to 6 wins.
And Middle Tennessee kind of seems to be heating up a little bit as they took down the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. I mean, we were talking about this before off the record. Just the schedule isn't easy. This game was essentially the one you had to win,
right,
to possibly make that bowl game because then you beat Sam Houston, and then you have a shot at Middle Tennessee.
Right, and now all that has fallen out. It's funny. Before the New Mexico State, we talked about the importance of FIU playing their best football in the month of October, and they have not done that in the slightest, man. This is one of those games where I felt confident that FIU would just roll them. Right, since that main game, we felt the same way. And granted, the main game didn't end how we thought it was going to end, but FIU pretty much had all the pieces under the lights, nationally televised. They got the Vice uniforms. Probably not going to see those for a very long time now, if ever.
The Goodyear blimp.
The Goodyear blimp too for those special occasions.
That was
man.
cool.
That was cool. That was a cool
I'll
thing.
say this: it was just a cool night overall.
Yeah.
Leading up to the game, and then obviously it kind of got a little ruined once we saw UTEP kind of celebrate on the Lambeau.
Yeah, that was just.
I was talking to someone, and they were like, "This is the story of the game."
Yeah.
And I was hyped up with many cars,
and
it ends up with one of the two teams celebrating in front of the car, and it wasn't FIU.
It wasn't FIU. The car had the FIU logo on it as well, man. That just adds fuel to the fire, man, for how upset we are that FIU dropped this game. Again, there aren't that many positives to take away, but I will say again, Owens and Lawrence, a pretty good dynamic duo there in the backfield for FIU. They continue to improve. They continue to impress. And Deverick Daniel, 9 tackles as well. He's been solid, but again, that FIU secondary in the first quarter, what were they doing, man? They were just not up to par.
I'll have to go back and listen to McIntyre's audio from the presser, but I believe it was mainly man-to-man. They were also trying to pressure the quarterback a lot more. I mean, they noticed that the running backs just basically ran through them in that first drive, and that's kind of what they thought was going to happen. And for the most part, it was. I mean, besides those bombs, and as we look at this amazing Vice field, probably the best field they'll put out all year.
You're not wrong.
I mean, they just dug themselves in a hole.
They dug themselves in a hole, and it is so hard to come back from a deficit.
And I'll give them this: they had the onside kick.
They did. Cool. It was a genius play call by McIntyre. UTEP was not expecting that. Like, there was no way they expected something like that. But again, the offense just let them down. And of course, you had that absolutely horrific interception by Jenkins. I think McIntyre spoke about it. It was just a miscommunication between him
He really couldn't say
and
anything else.
Mitchell,
He
right?
had miscommunication.
Yeah, so that it was basically turned out to be a punt. And man, I will say the defense gave FIU's offense enough opportunities to climb back into this game and perform the impossible and come back.
Yeah.
I don't think you can put too much blame on the defense, especially in the second half. Obviously, first half they let UTEP cook, which is crazy. But the second half, at least they did their job. The offense just did not.
Yeah, I don't know, before we wrap up here, I really don't think there's much more to say on this game than that.
Yeah.
You know, we'll probably on the podcast. We may have to do three podcasts this week to kind of preview not only San Houston but just what's coming up next. And
Yeah.
kind of just recap what's been going on here. But DJ Christian, after his injury, he did not go back in the game as reported by the ESPN broadcast. He, in fact, went to the hospital. It is uncertain what his injury is at the moment.
That's a scary
Nothing
situation.
from Coach McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yes, he said he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is uncertain. His
Yeah,
status is up in the air for Sam Houston, which is next Wednesday.
And Jenkins also he just does know. They said on
I
the
was
sidelines
down.
he would be okay,
I was down
but
on the field when he got injured.
they said
he
knee,
seemed-
right? McIntyre said
He
knee.
said knee injury, and he
Yeah.
seemed just fine. Walking into the tent, walking out of the tent, he seemed fine. But again, when the game ended, just over there, the medical staff was waiting for P1.
Yeah.
So I think we can wrap it up here.
Overall, just a frustrating game, Kevin. It's just one of those games where if FIU say wins 5 games, you look back and be like, man, if they just did their job and beat a team that they were supposed to beat, they could be going to a bowl game right now. But unfortunately, we're just have to wait and see how that goes again. And obviously we'll recap it at the end of the year, but it just kind of feels like a what if season. What if it beat La Tech? What if they had taken down the teams that they should have beat? And if we beat La Tech and then UTEP tonight, we're like 1 win away from a bowl. We can cruise to not just a bowl win, but just a great record.
They would be in a bowl game. If they would have held on to the lead against New Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, they never led. Never mind. They would have beaten New Mexico. But
they would have. But final score 27-14. Stay tuned, by the way. We do have a great episode of the podcast coming up, I believe, on Friday.
Bernardo DeSantis Montero.
Yeah, once again,
soccer stud.
Masking the pain of football with a little bit of soccer on our podcast.
Yeah,
I think it's super cool.
23rd ranked team.
Yeah, women's than men's. I think that was a great idea.
And obviously, as I mentioned, I think we do have to do an episode kind of recapping just what we've seen until now, because it's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs for this team.
A lot of ups.
It's just been wild, I think.
And a lot of questions that still need to be answered, and FIU is running out of time.
So from Jake, myself, Johnny, who wasn't here, Billy Gill, shout out Billy Gill.
Hey, shout out Billy.
And everyone else. Peace out. And as always, paws up.
Paws up.